dated in secret. Amid the glitter and shadow of old Hollywood, one legend lived a double life. Hero on screen, mystery off it. Who was the man behind that silver hair, the deep voice, and the intense gaze that lit up cinema screens across America? And how did a boy from Brooklyn, born into modest means, carry so much talent, heartbreak, and quiet struggle behind the fame that defined his too short life? Long before Hollywood knew his name, Jeff Chandler, born Ira Grassel, walked the streets of Brooklyn as the only child of a working-class Jewish family. He didn't grow up surrounded by lights and cameras, but by the quiet rhythm of a household built on values, on hard work and humility. Yet even in those early years, something inside him reached beyond the ordinary. Acting wasn't just a fantasy. It was a pull, a calling that never left him. He chased it with quiet determination, studying drama in high school and pushing further at the Fagan School of Dramatic Art in New York. There, he began shaping his voice and presence, laying the foundation for a career few around him could have imagined. But the stage had to wait. Like so many men of his generation, Chandler answered a far different call, serving in World War II in the remote and dangerous Aleutian Islands. The experience changed him, strengthened him, and deepened his resolve to follow his dream once the war was behind him. Back home, his deep, commanding voice became his first ticket into the spotlight, not on screen yet, but over the airwaves. Radio dramas quickly made him a familiar voice to thousands. It wasn't long before his talent pushed him from the microphone to the big screen. In 1949, everything changed. He took on the role of Cochise in Broken Arrow opposite James Stewart, a performance so dignified and layered that it earned him an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor. But more than awards, the role marked something rare for that era, a portrayal of a Native American character with respect, empathy, and power. At a time when Hollywood often flattened cultures into stereotypes, Chandler stood apart. He wasn't just acting, he was opening doors for better stories, for deeper truths. He returned to the character twice, in The Battle at Apache Pass and Taza, Son of Cochise, confirming his dedication to roles that meant something beyond fame. Yet he was never limited to westerns. Through the 1950s, Jeff Chandler became a household name, with a screen presence that was both rugged and emotionally nuanced. In films like Merrill's Marauders, Yankee Buccaneer, Foxfire, and Away All Boats, he played men of action, conflict, and complexity. And beside him stood some of the era's greatest actresses, Maureen O'Hara, Jane Russell, Joan Crawford, and Rhonda Fleming. On set, he was known as a professional of the highest order. Punctual, respectful, and committed. He didn't just show up, he brought everything he had. But Chandler wasn't content with only acting. His voice, already known from radio, made its way into music. He recorded several songs and performed on TV shows and in nightclubs, revealing a softer, more romantic side that endeared him to new audiences. He was more than an actor. He was a performer, a creator. He even took steps into production, eager to shape the stories he helped tell, not just recite lines written for him. It was a quiet kind of ambition, but one that reflected how seriously he took his work. In his personal life, Chandler tried to build something steady. In 1946, he married actress Marjorie Hoschel, and together they seemed to embody Hollywood's version of domestic bliss. They had 2 daughters, Jamie and Dana, and friends often spoke of Chandler's devotion as a father. Even when shooting on location or buried in work, his thoughts often turned to his girls. He wasn't a man who wore emotions openly, but those close to him saw how deeply he loved. Still, fame came at a cost. The pressure, the distance, the long hours, they strained the marriage. What began as a strong union slowly fractured. By the mid-1950s, even as Chandler's star kept rising, his personal life grew more fragile. Separations came and went, and with them, trust began to fade. Then came Esther Williams, MGM's Golden Swimming star, who had just divorced Fernando Lamas when she and Chandler became involved. Their romance became instant tabloid fodder. They appeared in public together, dined at famous restaurants, and filled columns with photos and speculation. For a man as private as Chandler, the sudden glare of gossip only made things worse. Marjorie Hushell, devastated by the affair and the humiliation that followed, filed for divorce. It was finalized in 1959, ending over a decade of shared life. And yet, Esther wasn't the only name linked to Chandler. Over the years, rumors swirled around brief relationships with actresses like Gloria DeHaven and Ann Sheridan. Nothing ever truly confirmed, but in Hollywood, whispers travel far. Chandler's reputation grew as a man of charm, often surrounded by beauty, but also burdened by something heavier, a longing, a loneliness, or maybe just the pressure of being constantly watched. But beneath the surface, there was a story even more private. Years after his death, quiet accounts emerged of a relationship that Hollywood never dared acknowledge at the time, one with Barbara Stanwyck. Strong, private, and fiercely intelligent, Stanwyck was known for her unforgettable performances and her unwillingness to conform. She and Chandler met at a dinner party in the late 1940s, and what began as conversations soon grew into a bond, deep, respectful, and real. They kept their romance hidden, meeting in private, shielding their love from cameras and curious eyes. It wasn't shame that kept them quiet, it was survival. In those days, Hollywood didn't allow its stars to live fully. Studios controlled every story, every image. Any deviation from the expected could destroy careers. Chandler, out of respect and love, honored Stanwyck's wishes for secrecy. Their relationship, never public, ran quietly for years. But like many things kept in the shadows, it couldn't last. Not because the feelings faded, but because the world wouldn't allow them space to be honest. Still, Chandler would later tell a trusted friend she was the one woman who truly knew him. By 1961, Jeff Chandler was still working, still pushing his craft. On set in the Philippines for Merrill's Marauders, he maintained his usual discipline, but an afternoon baseball game left him with a back injury he brushed off. The pain was persistent but manageable, until it wasn't. Back in the U.S., he was diagnosed with a herniated disc and scheduled for surgery. What followed was a catastrophic series of medical failures. During surgery, an artery was accidentally severed, leading to massive internal bleeding. A second emergency operation tried to reverse the damage, with doctors transfusing over 50 pints of blood. For a moment, there was hope. But then sepsis set in, followed by pneumonia. Despite a third desperate surgery, Jeff Chandler died on June 17, 1961. He was only 43 years old. At the time of his passing, he was involved with British actress Barbara Shelley. Friends described their relationship as serious. There was even quiet talk of marriage. She mourned him not just as a partner, but as someone filled with kindness, passion, and warmth the public never fully saw. His funeral drew over 1,500 mourners. Among them were friends, co-stars, and admirers who came to say goodbye to a man who had given so much and lost too soon. Tony Curtis and Gerald Moore carried his casket. He was laid to rest at Hillside Memorial Park in Culver City, surrounded by others who had helped shape Hollywood's golden years. The aftermath was painful for his family. His daughters filed a wrongful death suit against the hospital, claiming medical malpractice. Though initially seeking $1.5 million, the case was settled for $233,258 without admission of wrongdoing. His ex-wife also filed a claim for unpaid money owed under their divorce settlement. Amid grief, legal battles unfolded, forcing Chandler's loved ones to endure public scrutiny at the worst possible time. At his death, Chandler's estate was valued at around $600,000, a sizable amount, especially for an actor whose career had spanned just over a decade. He left everything to his daughters, providing for them even in his absence. His life had been full of ambition, but also loss, of recognition, but also repression, of applause, but also silence. Jeff Chandler's legacy lives far beyond the roles he played. He was a pioneer in bringing sensitivity to tough characters, a man who treated his co-stars and crews with dignity, an artist who sang, acted, produced, and performed with integrity, and a father who, despite fame, remained deeply connected to his children. His star still glimmers on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, but his story isn't just carved into stone. It's remembered in the quiet corners of old film reels, in black and white photos, in melodies recorded decades ago, and in stories whispered by those who truly knew him. In a town built on illusion, Jeff Chandler was real, flawed, gifted, private, and unforgettable. And maybe that's the most lasting tribute of all, that even as the lights faded and the screens went dark, the man behind the performances continues to speak to us. Not just as a star, but as a soul. If this story moved you, and you'd like to hear more untold truths behind Hollywood's golden age, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. There's always more behind the curtain than meets the eye, and we're just getting started.